You will some more about the budget major. Adokra or the Asian day. Charlie. Oh yeah, MPP. MPs no. In fact, when they go parliament, when they go parliament, now everything shows there. They are very, very learned. Aide Gideon Boako, one of the aides, Odema Oye, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, on the floor of parliament, ordinary some logo no. Now the way all spit fire no, na the way all change some no. And this is the why I confused. Be a no. In fact, MPP, we have the men, and these men who are less in parliament, everything shows there. Indeed, they are giving the ruling party pressure. It was just yeye hawa all flow na odu baby a better na say the stability na and somewhere keka no nyabote na tielu na jinchim papa. This is Jeff Meji and this is your papa Jeff.
Of the 2025 budget assume a certain posturing to impugn and make mockery of his predecessors because they missed some targets during their budget presentation. Today, barely a year down the line, how does Minister Atuforsen feel when he has also significantly missed most of his micro-fiscal targets as they were the projections in the 2025 budget? At least, it is estimated that about 50% of the projections in the 2025 budget were missed. Mr. Speaker, even in areas where the government was able to meet the set targets, there are significant foundational errors that ought to be probed. Take, for instance, the area of inflation. Mr. Speaker, by April 2014, in line with the Standard Credit Facility Agreement between the Government of Ghana and the IMF, certain macro-fiscal programs had been put in place for inflation to peter out and end 2025 with a single digit. This was widely published and communicated by both the IMF and then the Bank of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, I must say that it is refreshing that this government has stayed put with that arrangement by the previous government, and today we have single-digit inflation. I am sure Minister Amin and Abna will be happy that the seed they sowed and watered has germinated into this single-digit inflation that we are witnessing today. Despite this development, Mr. Speaker, I have some worries about some of the tools deployed by the current government to enhance the single-digit inflation, and this holds serious consequences for the economy and individuals. I dare say, Mr. Speaker, per the arrangements that were put in place by the previous government, we were still going to achieve single-digit inflation if this government had not deployed these tools. Mr. Speaker, what are the tools I'm talking about? The government deployed two main tools in 2025 to enhance the attainment of the single-digit inflation. One is the sterilization mechanism from the monetary policy side by Bank of Ghana, and two is the excessive fiscal consolidation by the Ministry of Finance, anchored on delayed payments and arrests, just to let the books look good. Mr. Speaker, what do we say when we mean sterilization? Sterilization simply means that this government assumed that there was so much money in the pockets of the Ghanaian people and therefore decided to siphon all these monies back into the Bank of Ghana, depriving households of potential disposable income and increased consumption. This is what the minister did. Mr. Speaker, if we read the budget statement, paragraph 248, the minister states, and I quote, "To contain monetary policy expansion, the Bank of Ghana intensified open market operations in alignment with its disinflation objectives. Growth in net domestic assets was curtailed through enhanced stabilization and reductions in net claims on government." Mr. Speaker, this is so interesting. The minister states a total of 62 billion cedis was sterilized year on year through open market operations from Ghana. Mr. Speaker, what this effectively means is that 62 billion cedis that should have been available in the pockets of the ordinary Ghanaians for spending on the markets have been siphoned back to central bank by depriving the people that opportunity. Mr. Speaker, the interesting thing is that next month, December, Christmas is coming. And I can bet you, Mr. Speaker, that with this activity by the central bank, traders will just be sitting by their produce in the scorching sun of Okaishi Market, in the scorching sun of Kumasi Central Market, in the scorching sun of Makola and elsewhere. People will just be passing by without purchasing anything. Why? This is going to happen because 62 billion cedis that should have gone into the market, into the pockets of people, this government has siphoned all those monies back into the central bank because of sterilization. Mr. Speaker, traders are going to be worse off this Christmas, and that is going to have serious consequences on the economy. Mr. Speaker, come to think of it, has anybody thought about the fact why is it that we have single-digit inflation, yet there is food glut on the market? With many other commodities, people are not buying. Meanwhile, most of these goods, which are normal goods, have income elasticity of demand in the positive. And therefore, as income increases, people will buy. We are having single-digit inflation, and yet people are not buying because there is no money in the pockets of people. All of these monies have been siphoned through stabilization to the central bank. Mr. Speaker, the other thing that this government has done, which is also so dangerous, is an excessive fiscal consolidation. Mr. Speaker, this is what the minister calls fiscal discipline. Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, when your incompetencies combine with poor revenue measures and you are unable to execute your budget, you don't call that fiscal discipline. Rather, this is fiscal indiscipline. Whatever you presented to Parliament and was approved for you, you must spend it. If you don't spend, it is not discipline. That is indiscipline. And the minister should know that. Mr. Speaker, what the finance minister has done ultimately is to cut the fiscal expenditure, reduce the fiscal burden by cutting the fiscal expenditure. And so today, Mr. Speaker, if you read the budget, the goods and services budget was cut by 44%, from 5.1 billion to 3.8 billion between quarter 1 and quarter 3. Capital expenditure was cut by 66%. Approved capital expenditure was 1.5% of GDP. The minister did only 0.5%. Total expenditure on commitment basis reduced from 207 billion to 175 billion. The promised 50 million for Women Development Bank never materialized. The promised 100 billion for Coders program never materialized. Mr. Speaker, from this significant shortfalls and the outturn in the program expenditure for 2025, all that it means is that resources were not delivered to the intended priority areas for the growth of this economy. By so doing, we are impoverishing the people of this country, and that is why people are suffering and people cannot also buy. Mr. Speaker, it is therefore not surprising that as the minister was reading the budget, if you look inside this chamber, his own ministers were not happy with him because the minister is not spending. The minister is not spending. How can your ministers be happy with you when you promise you are going to release 13 billion cedis for big push and you ended up doing less than that? Although the minister had stated falsely in one of the paragraphs that he used 63 billion cedis for big push. How can you do that? When appropriation granted you only 13 billion cedis, you come to this chamber and tell us that you spent more than the appropriation. This is wholly untrue. It is important, Mr. Speaker, that as I conclude, I want to remind the Minister for Finance that the best ship is not the one that is designed and anchored at the port. The best ship is the one that is set sail.
Low and calm. Jeff Miljek, your trusted voice in Ghanaian politics. You, passionate, very deep, commanding tone. Low and calm. Welcome to your #1 political platform, where we bring you nothing but the best in political content. Very deep, commanding tone. Low and calm. We're here to dive deep.